What happens when a senator's wife gets caught drunk driving and then in the middle of her court hearing pulls out her cell phone and calls her husband for help? This 45-year-old woman is about to learn that some phone calls you can't make. Some positions don't grant immunity, and some husbands choose integrity over protection. Thanks for watching Judge of Justice. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more powerful real-life courtroom moments. But what makes this case truly unforgettable isn't just the drunk driving, it's what she hit, who she left injured, and what her husband said when Judge Caprio put him on speakerphone in front of the entire courtroom. Let us know where you're watching from, because what happens in the next few minutes will restore your faith that political power doesn't purchase exemption from accountability. It's a Wednesday afternoon in Providence Municipal Court. Judge Frank Caprio reviews a case that has already generated intense public interest. Diana Crawford, age 45, wife of Rhode Island State Senator Michael Crawford, charged with driving under the influence causing property damage, leaving the scene of an accident, and failure to render aid. The incident occurred 9 days ago at 9:47 p.m. in a Providence shopping center parking lot. Security camera footage tells the story clearly and devastatingly. Diana Crawford was driving her Mercedes SUV through the lot when she struck a parked 2015 Honda Accord, causing significant damage to the vehicle's rear quarter panel, bumper, and trunk. The impact was hard enough to trigger the Honda's alarm and deploy its rear collision sensors. The Honda belonged to Robert Martinez, a 67-year-old Vietnam War veteran who was inside the adjacent pharmacy picking up medication for his wife, who has MS and is mobility impaired. Security footage shows Diana exiting her Mercedes, walking unsteadily to inspect the damage, then returning to her vehicle and driving away without leaving any information, without calling police, without checking if anyone was hurt. A witness got her license plate. Police tracked her to her home 40 minutes later. Her blood alcohol content measured at 10:32 p.m. was 4, nearly twice the legal limit. Given the timeline, investigators estimate her BAC at the time of the collision was likely 16 or higher. When officers arrived at her residence to arrest her, Diana's first words were, "Do you know who my husband is?" Her husband is State Senator Michael Crawford, currently serving his third term representing Rhode Island's Eastern District, a respected legislator known for his work on criminal justice reform and his reputation for bipartisan cooperation. Now, 9 days later, Diana Crawford enters Judge Caprio's courtroom wearing an expensive outfit and an expression that suggests she believes this is all a terrible misunderstanding that will be resolved quickly. Her attorney, Thomas Whitmore, from one of Providence's most politically connected law firms, walks beside her, carrying a briefcase in an air of absolute confidence that money and connections can make problems disappear. Judge Caprio watches Diana's entrance with the careful attention he gives every defendant. She doesn't walk like someone facing serious criminal charges. She walks like someone attending a charity luncheon where she expects to be thanked for her presence. The beef calls the case. Judge Caprio reviews the charges, his voice ensuring every word enters the public record. Driving under the influence causing property damage, leaving the scene of an accident. Failure to render aid to determine if anyone was injured. Diana's attorney immediately requests a sidebar to discuss sensitive matters given Mrs. Crawford's position in the community. Judge Caprio's response is immediate and unambiguous. "Mr. Whitmore, this is a public courtroom. All proceedings stay on the record. If your client's conduct can't survive public scrutiny, that's a problem with the conduct." Thomas Whitmore tries a different approach. He acknowledges his client made an error in judgment, but emphasizes that she has no prior criminal record, that her family has been deeply involved in Rhode Island civic life, that Senator Crawford's legislative work has benefited countless constituents. Judge Caprio interrupts, "Mr. Whitmore, your client's husband's legislative record is not evidence in this case. We're here to address what she did, not who she's married to. If you're not subscribed, hit that button right now, because what happens next will show you exactly what happens when someone tries to use political power to avoid accountability." Judge Caprio asks Diana directly, "Do you understand the charges against you?" Diana nods, but her expression suggests she views this as a formality. "Yes, Your Honor, but I think there's been some exaggeration about what actually happened." "Exaggeration?" Judge Caprio picks up the police report. "Mrs. Crawford, you struck a parked vehicle while driving with a blood alcohol content of 14. You left the scene without providing information. These are facts, not exaggerations." Diana shifts uncomfortably. "The damage wasn't that serious, and I thought the parking lot was private property, so I didn't realize I needed to report it." Judge Caprio's expression hardens. "Mrs. Crawford, Hit-and-run laws apply to all property, public or private, and whether damage is serious isn't determined by the person who caused it. He asked the clerk to play the security camera footage. The courtroom monitor shows Diana's Mercedes striking Robert Martinez's Honda. The impact is clearly visible. The alarm activates. Diana gets out, inspects the damage for nearly 30 seconds, then returns to her vehicle and drives away. The footage is damning. There's no ambiguity.
What happens when a senator's wife is caught drunk driving and then, in the middle of her court hearing, tries to call her husband for help? Diana Crawford, 45, wife of Rhode Island State Senator Michael Crawford, enters Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom charged with DUI, leaving the scene of an accident, and failure to render aid. Security footage shows her hitting a parked car belonging to 67-year-old Vietnam veteran Robert Martinez, causing significant damage, and driving away without checking if anyone was hurt. Her blood alcohol content was nearly twice the legal limit, and she confronted police at her home, asking,
No room for interpretation. Diana caused significant damage and fled. Judge Caprio asked Diana if she recognizes what's shown in the video. Yes, but I was in shock. I wasn't thinking clearly. Mrs. Crawford, the footage shows you standing there for 30 seconds, examining the damage. That's long enough to leave a note, long enough to call police, long enough to do the right thing. Diana has no response. Judge Caprio reviews the victim impact statement submitted by Robert Martinez. Robert describes returning to his car to find significant damage. No note, no information. He explains that his insurance deductible is $1,000, money that's difficult for him and his wife to manage on their fixed income. He mentions that his wife's wheelchair-accessible van is in the shop, so they rely on the Honda for her medical appointments. The damage Diana caused isn't just property damage. It's a significant financial burden for an elderly couple already dealing with a progressive disability. Judge Caprio asked Diana if she's attempted to contact Mr. Martinez to apologize, to offer to cover the damages. Her attorney quickly explains that legal counsel advised against direct contact. Judge Caprio's voice becomes sharp. Legal strategy doesn't excuse moral obligation, Mr. Whitmore. Your client fled the scene, and in 9 days she hasn't taken any responsibility for the harm she caused. Diana speaks up, her voice taking on an edge. Your Honor, I understand I made a mistake. My family is prepared to pay for the damages. We just want to resolve this matter quietly and move forward. Quietly? Judge Caprio repeats the word. Mrs. Crawford, you want to resolve this quietly because your husband is a state senator. But the Martinez family can't resolve their financial hardship quietly. They have to live with the consequences of your choices publicly every day. Diana's jaw tightens. For the first time, she looks genuinely frustrated rather than just inconvenienced. Judge Caprio calls Officer Jennifer Santos, who responded to the scene and later arrested Diana. Officer Santos testifies about finding Diana at her residence, about the smell of alcohol, about Diana's initial refusal to submit to a breathalyzer until informed that refusal would result in automatic license suspension. What was Mrs. Crawford's demeanor during the arrest? Judge Caprio asks. Dismissive, Your Honor. She repeatedly asked if we knew who her husband was. She said this was a waste of police resources and that we should be focusing on real crimes. Judge Caprio asks to hear the body camera audio from the arrest. Diana's voice fills the courtroom, slurred and indignant. Do you know who my husband is? He's a...
Diana and her attorney enter the courtroom with confidence, expecting political connections to shield her. Judge Caprio methodically reviews the charges, emphasizing that her husband's legislative record is irrelevant. Despite her attorney framing her as a first-time offender, the security footage and victim impact statement reveal a stark reality. Diana caused serious damage, fled the scene, and left an elderly veteran to deal with the consequences alone. Judge Caprio highlights the moral and legal responsibility she failed to uphold, and Diana's
State Senator, you're making a huge mistake. This will be taken care of. The silence that follows is devastating. Judge Caprio looks at Diana. Mrs. Crawford, that audio was recorded at 10:32 p.m., 45 minutes after you struck Mr. from Martinez's vehicle and drove away. Instead of taking responsibility, you threatened police officers with your husband's position. Diana tries to explain, I was stressed. I said things I didn't mean. You said exactly what you meant, Mrs. Crawford. You expected your husband's position to make your criminal behavior disappear. And that's when Diana makes her catastrophic mistake. She pulls her cell phone from her purse. Right there in open court, she starts dialing. Judge Caprio's voice cuts through the courtroom like a blade. Mrs. Crawford, what are you doing? I'm calling my husband. He can explain this better than I can. The courtroom collectively holds its breath. Did she just try to call her husband in the middle of her hearing? Mrs. Crawford, put that phone away immediately. Diana continues holding the phone to her ear. He's the one who deals with legal matters. He'll know what to say. Judge Caprio's voice becomes ice cold. Mrs. Crawford, you are standing in my courtroom facing criminal charges, and you just attempted to call your husband for help in the middle of proceedings. That is contempt of court. Diana finally lowers the phone, but the damage is done. She just demonstrated in front of everyone that she believes her husband's position can fix anything, even active court proceedings. Judge Caprio makes a decision that will become legendary in Rhode Island legal history. Belief retrieved Mrs. Crawford's phone. Mrs. Crawford, you called your husband. I'm going to give you what you wanted. We're going to talk to Senator Crawford right now. Diana's face goes pale. This isn't what she expected. Judge Caprio instructs the clerk to contact Senator Crawford's office. Within minutes, they have him on the line. Judge Caprio puts the call on speakerphone so the entire courtroom can hear. Senator Crawford, this is Judge Frank Caprio in Providence Municipal Court. Your wife is here for a hearing regarding DUI charges, and she just attempted to call you in the middle of proceedings for assistance. I'm putting you on speaker so we can address this matter publicly. There's a pause. Then Senator Michael Crawford's voice fills the courtroom, steady but heavy with emotion. Your Honor, I apologize for my wife's behavior. She had no right to call me during court proceedings.
In a shocking move, Diana pulls out her phone in the middle of the hearing and attempts to call her husband for assistance. Judge Caprio immediately identifies this as contempt of court. Moments later, Senator Crawford is on speakerphone in the courtroom, calmly telling the judge that his wife must be treated like any other defendant. He emphasizes accountability over political privilege, expressing shame that his wife endangered others and left a veteran without help. Diana realizes too late that her
Diana tries to interrupt, but Judge Caprio holds up his hand. Senator Crawford continues, Your Honor, I need to say something for the record. I've been aware of the charges against my wife since the night of her arrest. I've advised her to take full responsibility, to apologize to Mr. Martinez, and to accept whatever consequences the court deems appropriate. Diana's eyes widen. This isn't the supportive rescue she expected. Senator Crawford, Judge Caprio asks, are you asking this court to show leniency to your wife because of your position? The senator's answer makes Diana physically stagger. No, Your Honor. I'm asking you to treat her exactly as you would treat any other defendant. Her actions were wrong. The fact that she's married to a state senator doesn't excuse drunk driving, property damage, or leaving an elderly veteran to deal with the consequences alone. Diana whispers urgently, Michael, what are you doing? Senator Crawford hears her. Diana, I told you to take responsibility. You chose not to listen. I've spent my career working on criminal justice reform, on accountability, on equal application of law. I can't advocate for those principles publicly and then ask for exemptions privately. Judge Caprio asks, Senator, do you have anything else you'd like to say to this court? Senator Crawford's voice becomes even more serious. Yes, Your Honor. Robert Martinez is a Vietnam War veteran. My father served in Vietnam. The fact that my wife hit Mr. Martinez's car and drove away, leaving him to deal with the damage alone, is something I find deeply shameful. Mr. Martinez served this country. He deserves respect, not hit-and-run treatment from someone who then threatens police with her husband's political position. The courtroom is absolutely silent. Diana is crying now, but there are tears of shock and panic, not remorse. Your Honor, whatever sentence you determine is appropriate. You have my full support. My wife needs to learn that her last name doesn't grant her immunity from consequences. If this were any other defendant, I'd expect full accountability. I expect the same for her. Judge Caprio thanks the senator. The call ends. Diana stands alone at the defendant's table, completely exposed, her expected rescue transformed into public accountability. Judge Caprio's voice is calm but firm. Mrs. Crawford, your husband, the man you tried to call for help in the middle of court proceedings, just told me to treat you like any other defendant. Let's do exactly that. He reviews the evidence systematically. Security footage proves she struck Mr. Martinez's vehicle. Body camera audio proves she threatened officers with her husband's position. Her 14 BAC proves she was significantly intoxicated. Her attempt to call her husband in court proves she still believes political connections can erase accountability. The sentence Judge Caprio delivers is comprehensive. For driving under the influence, $1,000 fine, mandatory alcohol education program, and 1-year license suspension. For leaving the scene of an accident, additional $500 fine and 80 hours of community service at a veteran support organization. For failure to render aid, additional $250.
Judge Caprio delivers a firm sentence. Fines for DUI, leaving the scene, failure to render aid, and contempt of court, plus mandatory alcohol education, license suspension, full restitution to Robert Martinez, and 80 hours of community service assisting elderly veterans. Diana's attorney objects, but the judge points out that every consequence matches her actions. As she is processed out, Diana encounters Mr. Martinez, who affirms that in this courtroom, everyone matters equally, reinforcing the principle that
$500 fine for contempt of court for attempting to use a phone during proceedings, additional $500 fine, total monetary penalties $2,500, but Judge Caprio isn't finished. He orders Diana to pay full restitution to Robert Martinez for vehicle repairs, $4,300 according to the insurance estimate, plus his $1,000 deductible, total restitution $500 to $300. She must also write a formal letter of apology to Mr. Martinez and to Officer Santos, both to be reviewed by the court before delivery. And perhaps most significantly, Judge Caprio orders Diana to complete her 80 hours of community service, specifically assisting elderly veterans with transportation, driving them to medical appointments, helping them navigate VA services, the exact kind of assistance that Robert Martinez needed when his car was damaged. Total financial impact, $7,550 plus attorney fees. Total time commitment, 80 hours of service plus mandatory alcohol education. Total consequence, 1 year without a license and a permanent record of contempt for trying to call her husband in court. Diana's attorney tries to object, calling the sentence excessive. Judge Caprio's response silences him. Mr. Whitmore, your client drove drunk, caused significant property damage, fled the scene, threatened police officers, and then tried to call her husband in the middle of court proceedings. Every consequence she's facing is proportional to her choices. As Diana is processed out, she passes Robert Martinez, who's been sitting quietly in the gallery throughout the hearing. She doesn't acknowledge him, doesn't apologize, just walks past like he's invisible. Mr. Martinez stands and addresses Judge Caprio. Your Honor, may I say something? Of course, Mr. Martinez, I just want to thank you. I'm 67 years old. I served in Vietnam. I've never asked for special treatment, but I also didn't expect to be treated like I didn't matter. Mrs. Crawford hit my car and drove away like I was nobody. You just showed me that in your courtroom. I'm somebody. Thank you. Judge Caprio nods, visibly moved. Monsieur Martinez, you've always been somebody. This court just made sure Mrs. Crawford learned that. Within hours, news of the hearing spreads across Rhode Island. The audio of Diana calling her husband in court becomes the talk of local news. Senator Crawford's statement supporting full accountability trends on social media. 2 days later, Senator Crawford holds a press conference. He announces that he and Diana are separating. My wife's behavior was unacceptable. Her refusal to take responsibility is unacceptable. I've spent my career fighting for accountability in our justice system. I can't maintain that integrity while staying married to someone who...
In the months following her sentencing, Diana completes her community service, attends alcohol education, and makes a formal apology to Mr. Martinez. Her perspective shifts as she hears firsthand the sacrifices of veterans like him. Senator Crawford divorces her, preserving his integrity and public trust. Diana learns a life-changing lesson. Respect and accountability are earned through actions, not inherited through marriage. This story proves that no position, no matter how powerful, places anyone above the law, and that sometimes the phone calls we think can save us only reveal the truth.
Believes political connections should erase criminal behavior. The separation becomes a divorce within 6 months. Senator Crawford's approval ratings actually increase. Voters respect his integrity, his willingness to choose principles over personal comfort. Diana begins her community service 3 weeks later, driving elderly veterans to medical appointments. Week 1, silent, resentful. Week 5, starting to listen to their stories. Week 12, genuinely engaged, asking about their service, understanding their sacrifices. One veteran, Thomas Kim, tells her about serving in Vietnam with a man named Martinez. She asks if it's Robert Martinez. It is. They served together. Diana breaks down. For the first time since the incident, she understands what she did. She didn't just hit a car. She disrespected a man who served his country, who sacrificed for people like her who deserved better. She completes her 80 hours. She writes genuine apology letters that the court accepts. She finishes her alcohol education program, and 6 months after her sentencing, she requests a meeting with Robert Martinez. They meet at a coffee shop. Diana apologizes face to face. Mr. Martinez, I hit your car and drove away like you didn't matter. I threatened police with my husband's position. I tried to call him in court to fix it. I was wrong about all of it. I'm sorry. Robert listens. Then he says something that changes Diana's perspective forever. Mrs. Crawford, I forgive you, but understand something. I didn't serve this country so people like you could have special privileges. I served so everyone could be equal under the law. Judge Caprio reminded you of that. Don't forget it again. 1 year after her sentencing, Diana has completed all requirements. Her license is reinstated. Her divorce is final. Her life looks completely different. She continues volunteering at the Veterans Organization even though her hours are complete. She's learned something her political connections never taught her. Respect isn't inherited through marriage, it's earned through conduct. Don't forget to subscribe for more incredible courtroom moments where political power meets accountability and where judges like Frank Caprio prove that no position, no matter how powerful your spouse, places anyone above the law. Hit that like button if you believe that calling your husband in the middle of court proceedings reveals everything about entitled thinking. Drop a comment about whether Senator Crawford made the right choice divorcing his wife. Because this story isn't just about one drunk driver facing justice, it's about understanding that political marriages don't grant immunity, that phone calls can't erase accountability, and that some senators love integrity more than protecting spouses who break the law. Diana Crawford walked into court thinking her husband's position would save her. She called him in the middle of the hearing expecting rescue. Instead, she heard him tell the judge to treat her like anyone else. And that phone call, the one she thought would fix everything, became the moment that changed her life forever. That's justice, that's integrity, that's the legacy of Judge Frank Caprio.